All right, good evening, everybody, and thank you for all coming down on this special night. We are live from Books and Books in Coral Gables, Florida, so a note for our internet audience watching at home, if at any time during the presentation you would like to purchase a copy of tonight's books, please call the number on your screen. We will take care of that for you. We will have the authors sign them, and we will ship them wherever you are in the United States free of charge. For those of you who are watching overseas, the shipping might be just a little bit more. Well, this evening, Books and Books is very happy to welcome back Mr. David Leddick, presenting his latest book, I'm Not For Everyone, Neither Are You. Mr. Leddick has had wide-ranging careers in advertising, dance, theater, and as an author. This is Mr. Leddick's 25th book. In it, I wanted to check with you, is that correct, 25th? Maybe 27th, so... In this book, he brings us a three-part collection of axioms designed to help you discover your singular inner style and to best express it in all of your personal and professional relationships. Tonight, Mr. Leddick is being joined by Mr. D.A. Belmont, presenting his debut novel, Diamondacious, A Lauderdale Lady's Tale. Please give a very warm welcome to David and D.A.
Hi there, good evening. I don't usually use a mic, my voice is plenty loud, but I'm going to use it for the streaming thing. This is, I think, my 27th book, and actually I'm here with my friend Mr. Belmont because it's his first book, and I thought he needs a launch. He's a little overwhelmed. But this book also, this is 100 Things You Need to Know in the 21st Century. I wrote this book because I thought, a friend of mine said, you know, you're always saying all this stuff. Why don't you write a book? So this is my book about all my stuff that I say. But I am very aware, you know, that we're in another century, and a lot of the ways that people interacted and reacted to things in the last century really are not appropriate, and that, you know, they kind of, a lot of people have trouble shifting gears into this century. So this is a book. It has some chapters about my life, because the publisher wanted that. But I'm going to just read you some of the 100 chapters. And the good thing about this book, you can open it anywhere, and the chapters are very short. So you just, you know, if you have a minute or two, you just open the book and read it. So I'm going to start with this. It has it has a breakdown of sections, but I'm going to read to you from a section that is called Your Life with a Lover. I think this has shifted around a lot. You need a look. When Maria Callas taught at Juilliard, she frequently told her students this. A great voice is not enough. I can testify to this. I was dancing at the Metropolitan Opera at exactly the seasons that Maria Callas sang there. Actually, I made my debut with her in Norma. Callas had been a heavy-set girl from Brooklyn who got trapped in Greece during World War I. She emerged, married the aged millionaire Menengini, lost a ton of weight, and arrived on the scene like a dramatic bombshell. She was absolutely astonishing on stage. She created the atmosphere in which the entire production took place. It was all okay until when she appeared, bam, it's like somebody plugged in the electricity. Everything the audience felt, you also felt if you were on stage with her. She had a look like some kind of fantastic snake goddess. That was a star. She had a look. You need a look. And apropos of that, navy blue is always better than brown. This is your eternal fashion tip. You will always look better in navy blue than brown, with white around the face. Don't ask me why, but I've observed this thousands of times. This does not translate to lighter tones in warmer weather. Beige is better than light blue in warm weather. Again, don't ask me why. This is just the observation from the former worldwide creative director of Revlon. And as I always say to my friends, what would I know about fashion? Never chase someone who should be chasing you. My Uncle Sidney said, never chase a streetcar or a woman. There'll be another one along in a minute. Well, the streetcars are gone, but the idea is there. If someone isn't interested in you, they're not going to become more interested by your persistence. You dropping the chase abruptly might in fact result in piquing their interest in you. Come on, you're top notch. People should be chasing you. Love is never impossible. And I'm not talking about your love for your child, your nephew, your cat, or your dog. I'm talking about romantic love, the love that makes you feel you have been recognized as a one-of-a-kind special human being by another human being who wants to team up with you against the world. The team where 1 and 1 makes so much more than 2. The team that makes you feel, there, I have lived, I have been fulfilled. If it hasn't happened yet, do not give up. Keep your eyes open. Think about whom it is that you can fall in love with. If your choice is truly impossible, a movie star, some person you do not even know, a storybook character, etc., sit down and think about it. When your choice is the impossible dream, then you are at fault. Keep your eyes open. Someone out there is looking for you. A bad review is just one other person's opinion. I'm a writer, and a bad review does not bother me. Honestly, I know it is just one person, and they have every right in the world to not like my book. They may influence other people, but kismet, it is written in the stars. I think this is true of all criticism. Don't let it bother you. It's just one person. I'm sure there are hundreds out there who think you're swell. This is a quote from a friend of mine. She said, "David, we've been through some tough times, but we always looked good and we were always fun to be with." Actually, I spoke to her yesterday. She said the same thing. My great friend Norma Stevens said this to me years ago. Norma and I trained as dancers at the same time at the Met, toiled in summer stock at the same theater, and later worked in advertising at the same time. Long-term New Yorkers. Through a number of loves and the ups and downs of growing up, we both learned that no one is interested in your problems. Also, that most people are attracted to you by the way you look and by your consistent good temper. Friends may be willing to hear your problems and sympathize. They may even be supportive, but they become bored quickly. Face it, the only one who can deal with your problems is you. You're better off seeming to be problem-free and full of fun. I promise you, no one needs to know otherwise. And I'm going to read one more to you, and then I'm going to come back because Mr. Belmont is going to come to you. Oh, you'll like this one. When they get older, blondes must go south. A maxim from my very wise friend Jean Ann Zuver. This is primarily for ladies, but also applies to gentlemen. Jean Ann told me I have a friend who's confined to a wheelchair. She has long, beautiful blonde hair. She moved to Bogota, where she is very popular. I guess in Bogota they realize you can't have everything. Try it. If you're not getting the attention you want in New York, move to Miami. Then you can go to South America. I have a home in Uruguay. I am blonde, and I went to Tierra del Fuego last year, the jumping off place for Antarctica. They were crazy about me. I'm going to be back. I'll be back and read another 5 minutes to you, but this is Mr. D.A. Belmont. His new book, it's great. Diamondacious. He's going to tell you what diamondacious means, and he's going to read to you.
First, I'd like to thank Mr. Leddick.
Closer to the microphone.
Oh, I'm a tyro. It's my first time.
Here we go. You'll be fine. Just right there.
Okay.
Perfect.
First, I'd like to thank Mr. Leddick and all the people here at Books and Books for making this possible for me. Everybody's been great. So, I've written a book, and David's book is full of many thought-provoking nuggets of wisdom. Mine, on the other hand, I've written a satiric comic novel, I hope, and not many nuggets of wisdom, but a lot of wordplay. So, and its inspiration for me were the airport beach books that I used to like to read and that eventually ended up smelling like Hawaiian Tropic. And it's a genre I like, so I incorporated a lot of the things from the genre. The thinly veiled real characters that might pop in, exotic locales, and the convenient catastrophes. The usual plane crashes, car crashes, a couple of coronaries, and a really ill-timed breakfast meeting at the World Trade Center. So, essentially, it's a book about a good girl going glamorously bad, and there's no other way to go. And so I named it Diamonaceous, which isn't a word, but it should be, and it is now. Diamonaceous means diamonaceous. 1, full of diamonds. 2, cool, rad, awesome. Origin, it's a blend of diamond and bodacious. An example, a Rolex might have a diamond face and bezel, yet any Rolex, even a stainless steel starter, is quite diamonaceous. And that's not diamalicious. Some people confuse it with diamalicious. That might be the sequel if things work out. I don't know. So I'm going to read you from the very beginning, which sort of sets up the story. It's in 2004, and the book is chronological after that. You turn a page, it's 1971, and it goes chronological to 2006. So this is the very beginning. November 29th, 2004. Sentencing hearing, United States v. D. Helmet, Federal Courthouse, Southern District of Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I always try my best, Debbie DeVore Vargas Helmet told the judge. She hoped her tearful tale of single motherhood and recent widowhood might get her house arrest, an ankle bracelet, and community service instead of hard time. Debbie dressed down for the hearing, trying to look as plain and prudent as possible. A business suit in bereavement black from JCPenney, minimal makeup, and no jewelry save a Timex watch. Relieved of regalia, she appeared a far cry from the glamorous Rolex-wearing Lauderdale lady she had become. Debbie's prospects didn't look good. She'd been assigned a tough judge and had a slim chance of avoiding a stint at the club-fed dollhouse. It was a small town. She knew the judge socially and had been to his house for parties. Only her mother, daughter, and hairdresser were present in the courtroom. Debbie's many friends were few and fair weather. If this is your best, I'd hate to see your worst, young lady, said Judge Max Chandler. As chief financial officer of the county hospitals, you were responsible for almost $1 billion per year. You've betrayed the public's trust. Further, your embezzlement of $95,000 shows willful misconduct. The amount is not the issue. The public's trust is, said the judge, sentencing Debbie to 12 months in prison. Maximum Chandler, had been on the bench for over 30 years, making him an esteemed member of Old Line Fort Lauderdale's establishment. Just 2 years ago, as chairlady of the decorating committee, Debbie had awarded him the first prize for the best decorated boat at the Rio Vista Yacht Club's Christmas party. 12 months for $95K. I'll kill the bastard who called the FBI, thought Debbie, after I figure out who dropped the dime on me. At 42, it wasn't supposed to be this way for a Lauderdale lady. They only got blonder, tighter, and richer. Debbie made it across Federal Highway, from growing up on food stamps in Riverland to yachting in Rio Vista. Not many could say the same. It's not where you start, it's where you finish, Debbie's mother told her long ago at the welfare office. Debbie was the talk of the yacht club that year. Everyone said she was finished. Yet Debbie hadn't reached the finish line, not by a long shot. 2 weeks and many little blue Xanax dolls later, on the eve of the yacht club Christmas party, Debbie reported to Federal Prison Camp Alderson, the minimum security women's correctional facility in Alderson, West Virginia. And that's the beginning. And so it goes through time chronologically from there. And I'm going to read you a story about the midpoint in her career in which she meets her hairdresser, who becomes a lifelong friend, and she becomes a blonde, which are two very important things for a Lauderdale lady. Chapter 29, Summer, 1993, Yellow Strawberry Salon. I'm Debbie Vargas. My friend Arden Sloan sent me. One of my best clients. She doesn't need much magic, but those glowing locks get a little assist from me. The one, the only, Carell. That's me. Carell fluffed Debbie's hair with his fingertips. Hair is like a picture frame for the face. Even the plainest picture looks better in a cleverly crafted frame. You know, you sort of look like Arden in a brunettish, hazel-eyed way. Same nose. Several years younger than both Arden and Debbie, Carell was a lanky blonde that week. He looked like Brad Pitt without the jumbo nostrils. Carell wore a Keith Haring serpent swatch. Think so? I had it done by Dr. No. He knows both of us, and I asked him for Arden's nose. Arden and I worked together at the hospital. Oh, Dr. No, the best. He did my ears and refined my nose. I have a friend who went to a bad doctor and ended up looking like a French movie star. Gerard Depardieu. Though not as handsome. My friend now looks like a refugee from the island of Dr. Moreau. I was a little nervous when I had to sign the release saying surgery entailed risk, including death. My old nose worked perfectly fine. It just had a little bump on it. I worried I might wake up pretty, but brain dead. Oh, it's good to take calculated risks, said Carell as he worked. And really, there are pretty but brain dead people all over town who have never been near a surgical suite. I've woken up with more than a few. Maybe you're right. Beauty in an ugly world is never easy, but everything turned out great. After my divorce a few years ago, I packed on the pounds. I love Little Debbie moon pies. It took a lot of effort to get slim. Arden advised a new hairstyle. Divorce wasn't only for Miss Tammy Wynette. I know what that trouble's like, and I just babysit 25-year-old cads between divorces. Ginger Rogers only played a gay divorcee once. You're lucky there was no domestic violence. Just 2 boyfriends ago, I came burnt out after a long day of hair burning, and Zach, or Zed, greets me with a menacing snarl. Honey, I've missed you, he said as he pulled the trigger a second time. I looked down at my white Ralph Lauren polo shirt. There was red everywhere. It was like a bad noir movie. Good thing it was only a paintball gun. It wasn't blood red, more like L'Oreal number 25, light auburn dream. Still, I sent him packing. Should have known he was trouble from an ankle bracelet, not the kind Claudette Colbert wore in Cleopatra. I do love a man packing a large piece, but not that kind. Boy, you have an interesting full life, said Debbie, understanding only half of Carl's ramblings. His chattiness made Debbie wonder if Diet Coke was the only Coke fueling the conversation. Boys do that to you. I admit it's sometimes hard to manage my affairs. Anyway, for your new look, I have a scathingly brilliant idea, just like the scheming convent schoolgirl Hallie Mills said in The Trouble with Angels. You could be a dead ringer for Arden. Remember Dead Ringer, where Betty Davis played 2 roles, the good and the evil look-alike sisters? As dead ringers, you two could get into all kinds of madcap hijinks and evil fun. Think Arden would mind, said Debbie. Not Arden. It's a compliment, the sincerest form of flattery. Despite the way she dresses, despite the way she dresses, Arden really doesn't compete with other women. She doesn't have to. You know how she's always so beautifully accessorized? She once told me that confidence is the ultimate accessory. I learned a lot from Arden. Trust me, you were born to be blonde. And then it goes on from there. Thanks. And ends on a yacht in Puente del Este, Uruguay. So, Mr. Leddick? I'm back. Voila, he's back. I'm done, thanks.
It's interesting because a lot of the things that are in his novel are part of the stuff that I advise people on to do or not to do. When you missed your plane, you never know whom you'll meet on the way back to the city. Who knows where life is leading? Instead of fuming and fussing about inconveniences and interruptions, perhaps the turns in the road are leading you in new directions. This is not just Miss Goody Two-Shoes talking, making the best of things. I think we are being pushed along a path, and we're the ones who screw up by balking and dragging our feet because it isn't what we had planned and had in mind. Something or somebody great may be out there waiting, and the other encounter would never happen any other way. The good thing about hot weather is you don't need moisturizer. There is a great side to everything. That's why I love Miami. If you live in hot weather, as we have in Miami, you can console yourself about your inevitable dampness. It's great for your skin. I always think I look 10 years older as soon as I go north. Furs add 10 years to a woman's age. I don't like the idea that animals should be raised and killed so women can wear furs. But I don't like ranting and raving either, as in my experience, confrontation really rarely succeeds, particularly if there's money involved. Your idea versus my idea? People find it hard to give in. So I prefer confronting one deadly sin with another. I just quote the famous society beauty Babe Paley, who believed furs add 10 years to any woman's age. She only wore beautifully tailored little cloth coats, often in bright colors. She always looked great. Vanity will always win out over any other vice or sin. I do the same thing for smoking and drinking. Who cares about your health, darling? But nothing puts more wrinkles in your face than cigarettes and booze. People can shift in major ways when it comes to how they look. And always moisturize your neck. It may be your face someday. I don't mind going right out there and saying I strongly believe in plastic surgery. As the famous actress Ina Claire said to Noel Coward, get rid of that old stuff. When you look in the mirror and you don't like what you see, you don't have to put up with it. Pull that neck up. Get those dewlaps on each side of your mouth back in place. Bags under your eyes, you do not have to have them. You don't want to be overly pulled up so you look like a window dummy, but age-appropriate surgery will put you back to what you looked like 10 years ago. That's quite enough. Go for it. Now, this is the same thing. You can only look 10 years younger than you are. This is just some straightforward advice on extreme makeovers. I highly advise plastic surgery, but do not try for the impossible. If you really feel you missed out on your youth and you want to look 20 again, forget it. 10 years younger than you really are, that's possible. More truly isn't. Never turn around to look. You are the person other people are turning around to look at, or not. It doesn't matter. If you must, you're in a restaurant, you can take a square look at someone else on your way to the bathroom. You didn't miss anything. Please, do not crane your neck as someone else passes by. Let them turn and drop whatever they're carrying when you cross their path of vision. He was a man, and I like that in a person. Mae West said this. The sentence could equally be, she was a woman and I like that in a person, depending on where you want to go sexually. Do you perhaps have too long a list of requirements before you allow yourself to become interested? Perhaps you should shorten it. A gay thought. The man lurking in front of my house, my nephew sees as a threat and a danger. I see him as a potential boyfriend. Need I say more? I think when you are romantic, you see life in much more positive terms. And gay men really are romantics. My great friend Quentin Crisp said in an interview, gay men basically want to have fun. I can be had, but I'm not going to tell you how. Which means I may fall in love with you, but I'm not going to tell you how to go about it. You have to figure that out for yourself. I have my weak spots, but you're going to have to get to know me. Well, I'll tell you one. I like a lover to be thoughtful, and I tend to fall for narcissists, the worst choice of all. No one is ever going to come between them and themselves. There, I told you something. The rest you have to figure out for yourself. You don't want to sleep with me? I'm terrible. Ask anybody. This is a response to a sexual pest. I have a friend who also adds, I hardly move. You don't have a sexual pest on your trail? Perhaps you should get one. Crazy people can be great in bed. I don't even want to tell you how I know this, but it's something you should add to your knowledge of the world. There are only 3 reasons to know someone. They are beautiful, they are interesting, or they are good. I always tell everyone, if you are not beautiful and you cannot manage to be interesting, I would highly advise you to be good. The fact that someone can do something for you is not a reason to know them. That will always backfire on you. There are only 40 people in the world. The rest are walk-ons. This is true. Researchers in Italy did tests in a business, and they discovered that 20% of the employees are doing all the work. The other 80% are along pretty much for the ride. They then examined a law office, a university, a hospital, and a number of other activities in work areas. They found the results to be consistent. 20% were carrying the other 80%. These are the 40 people you know who seem to be doing all the moving and shaking. Do you even know that many? They're the people to whom you feel close and on whom you can count. However many you know, count yourself lucky. And this is a business thing. I always do this. Never make a business call on Monday or Friday. On Monday, everyone is struggling to catch up with the cascade of problems that have piled up over the weekend. On Friday, they can't wait to get out of the office. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays are the days when people are far more willing to talk to you. And another thing, I was in the beauty business, so I know this. Never call anyone before 10:30 in the morning. Glamour is impossible before 11. Glamour is impossible before 11. I repeat myself. Glamour is impossible before 11. And always leave as though you were going somewhere more interesting. It's all part of creating a world around you that looks attractive to others. You're leaving to go somewhere you really want to go, perhaps to be by yourself. Oscar Wilde said he liked reading his own diary because he always found dramatic stories fascinating. You are doing the same thing. You will find the world is quite interesting wherever you go, whomever you meet. And this is a quote from a friend of mine. You know what I think? I think bullshit. My friend Lucille Orme said this one evening at the dinner table when the male guests were discussing sailing, their boats, races, etc. A number of us sat silent through much of the meal. Then Lucille spoke up, adding, "And are we going to spend the rest of the evening talking about boating?" And suddenly put the evening on a whole other level. That's what I have to read to you. If you want a little more, I might. Would you like 1 or 2 more? Oh, I have. Okay. You can tell what a man is like by watching him walk away from you. This is an interesting topic. I'm just going to improvise here a little. Men learn to lie with their eyes, but they don't learn to lie with their mouths. If you really want to know what a man is like, look at his mouth. If they don't have lips, they don't love you. And you can tell what a man is like by watching him walk away from you. Try it. Just watch a man walk away from you. When he walks towards you, he fakes it. Instead, watch him walk away. He may very well walk like a big baby. He is a big baby. If from the back his head is up, his shoulders back, he strides forward, that's great. You can tell everything by looking at people's mouths. As I said, people learn to lie with their eyes, but their mouths tell you everything. I've seen many men who had full mouths when they were young, but whose lips disappeared until their mouth was nothing but a zipped purse. A man without lips is a man who will not give love. If a person is older and still has lips, capable of giving. If his lips have been tucked away inside, he will not give. I have seen this many times. I know this. Everyone is more intelligent than you think they are. This is my friend Jean Ann Zuver's belief. In this life, you will encounter people who think that others are not intelligent and easily duped and swayed. In fact, quite the reverse is true. Not everyone speaks well or is able to communicate what they think and believe. But in interfacing with others, you would do well to deal with them as though they are smarter than they seem. You'll be surprised at the results and by the respect and liking for you. This is another Jean Ann. Serious people act silly. Only silly people act serious. Another pearl from Jean Ann. I think this is so astute. Life is so astoundingly difficult and dramatic. The only thing you can do is laugh that you are still here having to deal with it. If you don't really understand where you are, you will not find life laughable. You will think you can deal with it and make it work for you. Hello. Beware anyone without a sense of humor, and please don't marry them. Thank you. Are we still working?
We are. We have time for questions and answers or comments, anything you'd like.
We are here to answer any of your questions. We may not have all the answers, but we're going to try. Sir.
You both were talking about blondes. What is it about it?
About what?
Blondes.
Blondes. Listen, you got a choice. My friend Jean Ann, whom I referred to, she wrote the line for Clairol called Blondes, Do Blondes Have More Fun? And blondes do have more fun. They do. I always recommend to anybody, just become a blonde. If you're kind of bored, go blonde. And if it looks really terrible and you obviously have done it, that's the new look.
And it's true of someone like Madonna, who is a nice Italian girl from Detroit, but every time she goes brunette, it doesn't work. But when she went blonde, it worked. So there's something about blondes. And in my book, I insisted on spelling blonde with an E when it was for girls, and without it for boys. But
That's correct.
It's a period book.
Yep. Yes.
Wonderful presentation, and we learned something about your background, but I'm curious to know how you came up with the idea for your novel and what your background might be.
He's from Fort Lauderdale.
Listen, I've spent a lot of time in Fort Lauderdale, which in certain aspects can make Vegas look like a Shaker settlement. But, we got Ponzi schemes. We got my jeweler actually has an ankle bracelet. He was involved in something. It's common. But I've had several careers, and I had a long classical education. But the classics to me were Harold Robbins, Jacqueline Suzanne, and Sidney Sheldon. Everything else was mostly Cliff Notes, but it worked. And I had a career in healthcare for a long time. Then I had a business that I started and sold, and then I got this crazy idea that I wanted to be a writer. I always wanted to. Some people aim high. I always wanted to write a book that had in it somewhere the line, and then at the Polo Lounge. And it took me a while. This was 7 years in the making. David is very quick and prolific. I learned that I am not. And they say everyone has a book in them. And perhaps not all of them should be written. But I persevered and wrote. We'll find out.
Anything else would you like us to tell you about life? Sir.
David, what was your inspiration in writing this little book?
My publisher. I don't even tell you how. My publisher in the introduction, my publisher was a office boy. I worked at Gray Advertising. I was the creative director for Revlon, and one of the office boys was Stephen Pressfield, and he's walking around, and in his introduction he says, he's reading the copy that they're writing, like Mountains of Nubbiness, and he thought, I could write this stuff. So he came to me and said, I think I could write. So I gave him the little thing that we did in those days for copywriters, take three ads out of a magazine you hate and do them over again and see how talented you are. And I sent him to a friend of mine, and they hired him. So we kind of launched his career. And he's gone on from that to writing movies. He's a major writer of major novels. And now he's a publisher. And he spoke to me and he said, you're always saying this stuff. So I captured all this stuff I say. There's a lot more in there than I read. Sir.
You've been through the era of Mad Men, and I was wondering, have you watched Mad Men? Have you?
My next book is called
Mad Men.
We Offered Them Caviar. No, it's I worked with Revlon. Do you want to hear all this? I worked with Revlon. It was exactly the period of Mad Men, but it wasn't like Mad Men at all. And the thing, when I see Mad Men, everything's going on, but they never talk about advertising. They never tell you about the one funny thing. Remember one of them commits suicide, hanging himself on the back of his door. And I spoke to an old friend of mine. I said, "Do you see that show where he the account executive committed suicide?" He said, "There'd have been somebody hanging on the back of that door, but it wouldn't have been him." Because they were much tougher than that, much, much tougher. And I used to come back from the client and say, we offered them caviar, but they want peanut butter. So we'll give them peanut butter. And so I learned that my uncle and aunt were in advertising. So I was in New York quite young. I used to go and live with them. And I'd been around advertising a long time. And I had learned a lot of things from them, about difficult. Advertising Age magazine had a list of the 10 worst clients every year. Revlon was always number one. The others changed. They were always number one. They spent $34 million a year in the 1960s. I don't even know what that would be now on advertising. So every agency wanted them, and they knew that. They were despots. And Mr. Charles Revson was the president of Revlon and was like working with the mafia, You would go to meetings. People would come from outside, and we would go to meetings with us, and they would say, "Oh, this is the worst crap I ever saw in my life, and you used to have talent, and you don't have any talent anymore, and you're going to pay for this yourself." And that was what a meeting with them was like. And I used to take out my chapstick and say, "We really got to go now." And we would go. You'd sit there and you'd say, "What am I doing here with these lunatics?" And you'd think, "They're paying you a lot of money to be here. That's why you are here." Because most people couldn't handle the, There's a chapter in my book called The Trick Is Not Caring. Coco Chanel said she never designed a good dress till she didn't care anymore. And to be a real professional, it's good, you give them good, and you don't care. They don't want it, fine. It doesn't mean that it's bad. You have no self-esteem must be taken over and put somewhere else. Because no matter, you can pay no attention to what they say to you. Because they're always going to condemn you and not like you and pay you fantastically.
There's a really great introduction by Stephen Pressfield in David's book, and I think it's called The Prince of 666 Madison Avenue, and it's about when they met, and it's really interesting because it was in the 60s and it was the Mad Men time, and Pressfield went on to great things, and well, so did Mr. Leddick, but.
I know what I wanted to tell people.
Okay.
When you were asking him about his background, somebody was.
Yeah.
Hugh. We both believe you should have another career every 10 years. I think every 10 years you've done your career. Don't start another one. I'm in my 6th career right now, and I'm fine. I don't have my 7th one. My looks are really shot. I'm going to work with orphans. I worked, it's a sad story. I have great legs. And I went to New York, and I wanted to be a dancer. I had been studying ballet. I was way too old to be launching a career, but I went to the opera, and I auditioned, and they took me, and I was on. And my friends backstage, you say, "Oh, really? They shouldn't try to make you dance. They should just let you go out and walk around." But I worked at the opera 2 years, and I realized I was not going to become a star.
How old were you?
I was 28 when I retired. And that was the only thing I've ever really, really liked to do. The rest of it I've done because one must.
You don't enjoy what you do now?
I wouldn't. It's not thrilling the way dancing is, no. But it's my talent. It's what I can do. That's what I can do. And I like doing. I have like 4 books in the works right now. I have a great graphic. I'm doing a graphic novel that I think will be good and can be. It's written like to be a television series. And I have a new novel in the fall that's already gone to the publisher called Nakeder Than Thou. And it's a murder mystery. I live in France, and I live in Uruguay, and I live here, and it takes place in France in a country village, and it's a woman who discovers this skeleton in her cave of her old house. And it's someone who died 150 years before, and she finds out who it is, and it's a murder mystery, but everybody concerned is gone. But it's really, I think, quite interesting. Sir?
Why do you live in Uruguay?
I write people, and I say, I'm having a vacation in the past. It's the 1950s in Uruguay. We still have horses and wagons in the streets of Montevideo. It's great. The people are very good looking. It only has 3 million people. The traffic jam is unknown in Montevideo. And 1.5 million live there. Half the country lives in Montevideo. You can drive from the Brazilian border to Montevideo in 6 hours. It's fantastic. I drove once from the Brazilian border to Montevideo on a Sunday afternoon. We saw 10 cars and about 8 million cows. You know, it's a beautiful country. It's great, actually. It reminds me of what the United States was like, in that people are really, somebody was walking down the street like this, and I said to a friend, "It's all over. There's someone on a mobile phone." He said, "No, they're just scratching their ear." There's no, they're not. They don't have advertising posters. They don't watch TV very much, and they cook out. It's a big meat country. So when you walk down the streets, everybody has a grill out in front of their house, and they're out cooking every night in front of the house. It's great. You can go there. It's not expensive. I have a big house in Montevideo, so anybody who really wants to go and stay there can. All they have to do is call me.
I've been there 3 or 4 times, and a large part of this novel was written in Montevideo. And it's really the thinking man's Argentina. And it's Argentina without the drama. It's true. It's true. And just last year, it was The Economist's #1 country in the world because they have they're back to democracy. They had a bad time in the 70s, but they're back to democracy. They just legalized marijuana for local residents.
Gay marriage is okay.
It's in many ways they're ahead of us, and no matter where I went on public transportation, and I never felt in any way endangered. And my Spanish, well, I've tried the immersion several times, but I can read a headline in a newspaper, and I speak only in the present tense. That's because,
happen right away.
listen, I have no past, I have no future, I live for today. And everybody's nice.
And also, there are only 6 countries in the world, I think, where there are no terrorist possibilities. And Uruguay is the only one in the Western Hemisphere. Only one in the Western Hemisphere. So when you take the plane to Montevideo, you think, okay, I don't have to worry about it getting blown up. Nobody cares about Uruguay.
And the people are really nice, even when you can't speak their language.
No, they are. It's interesting. Countries have. I live in France. I speak French quite fluently, And I always say, when I first arrived, they didn't like me because I didn't speak French. Then they didn't like me because I spoke with an accent. Then they didn't like me because I spoke without an accent, and that's not nice when you're foreign. But Uruguay's fine. With any efforts you make, they like it. Are we done? Thank you a million times. It was really, really nice. Wait a minute.
What are some of your favorite authors?
Ooh, at the moment, I just finished it's an English writer. She just has a brand new book. What's her name? Dornum? I don't know. Jane Gorham. So good. So good. She wrote the Old Filth series. Do you know that? The Old Filth is, what is it? Failed in London. Go try Hong Kong. And that's really funny. I mean, I'm kind of an Anglophobe. So I rather enjoy it. I like that. My favorite writer, I'm awful with this kind of thing, but there's a woman writer. Oh gosh, it's embarrassing. My very favorite writer is a woman who lived. She was at cooking. Actually, wrote cookbooks, but she went to France and she had 2 children by 2 different men, and she was not married to anybody. Yes, MFK Fisher. Thank you. And I love MFK Fisher. But what's something in another map of another town is really my favorite book of all. Yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of books people don't. When I read the English book, I think a lot of people wouldn't get this. Because she's very magical and mysterious. And I like women writers better than men. Always, always. Yeah. How are your favorite writers?
Well,
Speak.
other than the titans that I mentioned, I really like David Rakoff. Unfortunately, he died in the last couple of years at only 46, but some of his writing was absolutely, I thought, brilliant. And you would just laugh at one of his sentences, and then you would think about it and laugh again. It's a shame that he's gone, because he didn't publish much, but he was a sort of a protege of David Sedaris. But I think he was brilliant. I don't read much fiction.
You kids are really good. You're really good. Well, we're here if you're buying any books, we're here to sign them for you.
Thanks.
All right, folks. So as David mentioned, we have I'm Not For Everyone, Neither Are You, and Diamondacious for sale at the counter over there. They're going to be signing over here at the table to the left of the podium. A reminder for our internet audience at home, if you call the number on your screen, we can have either of these books signed and shipped to you wherever you are in the U.S. free of charge. Also, all of our live streamed events are archived, so you can visit the Books and Books website, go to the live streaming link, and all of the events will be saved there for you to watch at your convenience. And for those of you here in the house, that was such a fun presentation. Let's just give David and DA another hand. Thank you very much.